Alrighty, well, hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlocked Show. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson. Thanks for joining me on this beautiful Friday morning here on the Gold Coast of Australia. I have got an amazing guest for you guys this morning, Mr. Ty. Actually, he's a doctor. He's Dr. Ty Belknap. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge that with the, excuse me, with the amount of work and study that he's done in this particular area. I can't wait for us to have this conversation because today, we're going to be talking about the one marketing strategy that you must adopt to survive in 2022 and beyond. And in a few moments, I'm going to share with you why I say that and why I feel so strongly about it. But before I do, let me tell you a little bit about Ty. So back in his teenage years, Ty was actually homeless. And during that time, as I'm going to say most Australians do, even though Ty's not in Australia, he's actually in Washington State over there in the US. But if you're here and you're homeless in Australia, man, what you do is you get yourself, in a combi van normally, and you become a surfer or a scuba diver or something that involves the water. So it's not too dissimilar to what goes on here in Australia. And when he was doing that, he actually found, he calls it his inner nerd, and he actually started in the tech industry. So, homeless, surfer, scuba diver, then did his total kind of, U-turn and went into the tech industry. And during that time in his younger years, he started working as a network engineer for many of the big companies, the likes of Microsoft, Compaq, and HP. And throughout his career, got to a point, and I'm going to say, as I read his bio, I'm like, yeah, that sounds a little bit like me. You get to your mid-30s and you think, what the heck am I doing in this corporate world? Maybe I need to go and do my own thing. And that's exactly what he did. So at age 36, left the corporate world and started his own web design and online marketing company. And way back then, that was way before it was called SEO, so search engine optimization. And again, we're going to spill the beans on everything SEO and why you should be paying attention to that. So just giving away the number one marketing strategy. Now, if you're anything like any other entrepreneur, particularly if you're in the online space, you've probably been finding it a little challenging to get your message out there using some of the, I'm going to put in air quotes, I don't know if I want to call it fad, but the different platforms such as Facebook. And, they had their moments where things were thriving, it was easy. And all of a sudden, it's kind of like come to this roaring halt where a lot of people have hit a brick wall and going, what the heck do I do with this beast now? The algorithms are really preventing me from getting my message out. It's becoming expensive. They've even put me in, Facebook jail. What the heck do I do? So I thought, why not get somebody like Ty, who is an expert at what he does. He knows his stuff when it comes to SEO. And let's talk about SEO because, in my opinion, and I think Ty will agree with me when he gets the opportunity to speak, will be that SEO is one of those things that when we started out in the online space, it was there then. And it's still there now, and it will still be there in many years to come. So why, and the interesting thing is that many people have sort of kind of brushed it to the side, forgotten about it, or haven't even gone down the path of creating some sort of solid SEO strategy, and therefore have been reliant on these pop-up platforms, let's call them, even though they've been around for many years, that change their algorithms, change the rules, change the regulations on the regular, and you're forever chasing your tail. So with that being said, I want to welcome to today's show Dr. Ty, and I want to make sure that he gets the opportunity to tell you guys all about SEO, how fantastic it is, and what the heck you need to do to be able to take on board this one marketing strategy to really help you survive and thrive in 2022 and beyond. Welcome to the show, Ty.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. And you know what, everybody? Tracy just said it all. I guess we're done. Hey, that's all. Take a break.
Sorry about that.
No. It's awesome that you know so much about SEO and about online marketing already. So I think that every business person should know some basics about it. And unfortunately, I know so many that don't. And I know they don't because it seems so difficult. But everybody should know at least a little bit about it because you got to know in the sandbox where you're playing. So.
Absolutely. Well, before we kind of get stuck into, all of the SEO stuff, I've given everybody a very, 50,000-foot view of, the life of Ty. But, maybe we can get you to fill in some of the blanks. Like, what was it? Because it's quite a change, right, to go from the corporate world as a network engineer, even though it's kind of in the tech space, to then deciding you're going to start your own web design and marketing company. How did that all come about, and why did you become so passionate about that?
Actually, the very first time that I worked at Microsoft, which was back in the mid 90s, Windows 95 just came out. And I was one of the people that was actually helping to troubleshoot it over the phones. It was such a big change in the operating system. We had four manuals. It must have been almost a foot tall of manuals that we went through and trained on for weeks on how to troubleshoot when people had problems. And the very first day on the phones, we had to throw almost all the manuals out. They were wrong. And so we had to redo everything. And when we redid it, we actually started creating the Windows 95 version of what is now today Microsoft support. And it was all online. And I started working with the online stuff on my lunch breaks. They wouldn't let us do it while we were working. So we did it on our own on our lunch breaks and created this. So that was my first taste at doing web design. And that's actually when I created my first website, which is called Troubleshooting Microsoft Windows. It's a very old website now. I don't even update it anymore. But I loved doing the web design so much that I started doing it as a side hustle back in 1995 when nobody ever wanted a website. And why get a website? It's 1995. Everyone's in the phone book. But there were some companies that wanted to get into it. And of course, as time went on, more and more. I left Microsoft, did another thing for a while, went back to Microsoft, but I didn't learn the first time. I say that kind of jokingly because Microsoft is a good company. It's not for me. The corporate world isn't for me, really. It's not just Microsoft. But I went back and I was there for about a year. And I realized that I don't like working for other people. And I thought, what can I do on my own? And that's when it came to me. I can do online marketing. I can do the web design stuff, and I can do that full time. So I quit my job, started my business officially after I quit my job, and just went full force with it the whole time. And really, what I
Fantastic.
started out with, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, fantastic. Like I said at the beginning, as I read your bio, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this. It's very similar.
Yeah, and this is how I got into marketing was when I started out, it was strictly a web design company. That's all I did was design websites. And I was designing these great websites for people and nobody found them. Nobody went to them. And that's when I started realizing there's got to be some way to attract the people in this new online world, how to get people to these websites once they're built. And this is even before Google was out, really. Google, well, I shouldn't say that. Google started coming out around 2002, 2003, but before that, it was just Yahoo, really, was the big search engine back then. And I did a lot of studying on Yahoo and Google when it came out, looking at the websites that were on page one and why were they on page one and what were they doing different from other people. And of course, this was back before YouTube or any training that you could do on your own. You just had to do trial and error the whole time and hope that you were doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, way back then when you sort of started out and you created, people's websites and then started kind of realizing, hold on a minute, because this is like the $1 million question, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
now I've got this thing. I've got the website, I've got the product, or I've got the service. Now how am I going to attract people to it? Like, how the heck am I going to get more eyeballs on the stuff that I've got? So I don't know how many times I hear from, excuse me, business owners and entrepreneurs. I know my product is good. I know my product is really good, but I need to increase my sales. They're just not getting enough people, to kind of look at them. So because why do you think the reason that a lot of people haven't really focused on SEO? Like, why do you think that is the case? And because we know it's super important, but I know from my experience, also, designing and building websites and that sort of thing, most people don't even give SEO a thought. Most people don't even know what it is.
Well, that's true. And really, SEO isn't that difficult. If you look at your standard web page, you get into the back end, you look at the HTML code, and you start looking at where the UTF equals 8 and making sure that the language is in English and making sure you got the right care sets. And if I keep going like this, you all are going to fall asleep in about 2 seconds. That's why most people don't pay much attention to SEO. There's some parts of it that are very technical. But what I realized was there are some things with SEO that I was doing back in 1995 that I still do today, which is actually why I wrote my book, Timeless SEO Secrets, because there's especially 3 things that I was doing in 1995 that are actually more important to do today than they were even 25 years ago.
Right. Well, now that you've kind of gone down that path, the next question would have to be, let's talk about those 3 things. So, and I love the fact that you call it timeless, because in reflection, it really has been the thing that is timeless. It hasn't been a fad. It was solid back then, and it's only got better and better and become more and more important. So let's unpackage or unlock what those 3 things are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you don't mind my backing up just a bit again,
Sure.
I think another reason why people don't do SEO quite as much is because, let's face it, social media is easy. You jump onto a platform that's already created, type in a couple of words, and people respond to it. You don't have to worry about all the techie stuff. You don't have to worry about even trying to get to your website. I mean, you can get to Facebook on your phone in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, and this is the perfect example, because I get this question about social media all the time. Why don't I just be on Facebook? Why don't I just be on TikTok? Well, the people that used to be on Google Plus asked me that question too. And we know where Google Plus is today. In fact, I know 2 businesses, their entire business was on Google Plus, and both of them are now out of business because they put everything into Google Plus, didn't even have their own website. So to me, that's why I talk about SEO so much. You can be on Facebook, please, be on LinkedIn and TikTok and all that. But your cornerstone, the cornerstone of your business should be your own website. That won't go away. It may change. You may not, you can do video and stuff now that you couldn't do before. Next step, I think, is going to be much more in virtual reality, but it's still going to be your website.
And I think that's a really important point that you make, and that the fact that your website, you own it. So rather than playing in somebody else's space where you're essentially borrowing their platform and the audiences that are there for a period of time that they stipulate is suitable for them to allow you to do so, with having your own website, and your own, I'm going to say, database, email list, and the list of marketing things can go on. But the fundamental thing here is that it's yours. And if you can do that, then you are the person that's in control of that, and not, at the mercy of some other company who doesn't know you, making some decisions that may put you out of business, like the example you gave of Google Plus.
Yeah. Or even just take Facebook. Facebook is still around. But before 2014, you made a post on Facebook. If you had 100 followers, 100 people saw it. Today, if you have 1,000 followers, 10 people see it.
Yeah.
And Facebook says, well, if you want to give us money, then we'll let a few more people see it. And you want to give us more money, then maybe we'll let a few more people see it.
Yeah. So with the likes of SEO, so how about we even give everybody, particularly those that are starting out and they may not necessarily understand what SEO is, like let's talk about what's the major difference between, say, advertising something on, say, Facebook compared to having some solid SEO strategy around your website and your other online assets.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. But let's talk about just the difference between paying for ads and natural SEO, which really what we do is natural SEO. Paying for ads, whether it's Facebook or Google or whichever ones, as long as you give them enough money, they put you to the top and they put you in front of people. But the second you don't give them any money, they're not going to do that anymore. That's the paid stuff. So And I have no problem with paid stuff because as long as the money's coming back in, as long as you've got a great return on your investment, yeah, go ahead
Mm-hmm.
and keep doing it. If you
Mm-hmm.
make $1.01, I have an ad that almost literally for every dollar I spend, $1.01 comes back in. But that's fine because it's great promotional as well as the marketing. And I'm not losing money, so why stop it? I still try to tweak it sometimes to make sure, see if I can't raise that ROI a bit more. But it doesn't bother me that it doesn't make a lot of money. But natural SEO, and this is the bad part about natural SEO, is it can take time. If you're working with competitive keywords, which is one of the three things, by the way, is keywords.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working with competitive keywords and you're working diligently at it, let's say every single week, it could take 6, 9, 12 months just to get onto page one of Google. But the great news is once you get there, it's a lot less work to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big thing is, and plus you think about it. I'm using Google, but it doesn't matter if it's Google, Bing, Yandex, Yahoo, whatever search engine you want to go to. Think about the last time that you went to a search engine and did a search. You all know what I'm talking about. The first three at the top are all paid ads, so you ignore those.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on what did I just say? Now, if you're
Mm-hmm.
paying for ads, you're one of those top three that everybody just ignored.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they scroll down to the regular stuff. And that's why the natural is so important because as a searcher, you don't really pay attention to those top three unless you can't find what you're looking for in the rest of it. Then you might go back up or go to the bottom three and see if you can find it there. But it's that middle ground where people really look. And this is actually, they've done heat maps to see where people look. And that's
Mhm.
really what they do. They completely ignore the top and the bottom. What's in the middle? What's the
Isn't that just fascinating? That whole human behavior of, oh, well, that's an ad. I'm just going to, move on from that. And that is exactly what happens. I mean,
yeah.
clearly you've proven that through, those heat map studies and actually watching people's behavior on sites. So keywords, and maybe as we go through each of these three, I'm gonna ask some more questions about each of these. So
Yeah.
I know that one of the questions that a lot of people listening today are going to have is, okay, well, how do I find keywords? How do I know what these competitive keywords are? And should I be choosing, you know, really competitive keywords? And what can I expect when I choose a competitive a competitive keyword over something that maybe is less competitive?
That's a great question, and that's really the big thing to find out is the keyword that I've chosen, is it competitive enough? But that's kind of a relative question too. Give
Mm-hmm.
you a perfect example. In the town where I live, there's a street that goes through our town called Pacific Avenue, and there's Pacific Avenue, in several towns in the USA, especially on the Pacific Coast. And so it's not an uncommon name, but there was a restaurant there during a big construction phase, and nobody was going to the restaurant because it was all under construction. But the owner knew that if he could get at least the construction workers to come there during lunch, then he would have enough business at least to survive until the construction stopped. And so we worked with him on keywords because he wanted to be best restaurant Pacific Avenue. That's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then and lunch special Pacific Avenue. Those were the two keywords. And I stopped him at first. I said, dude, this is not going to get you a lot of business. I said, it might
Mm-hmm.
get you another 10 people a day. He goes, if I can get 10 people a day, that's all I care about. Because that's what I need. I need to survive
Mm-hmm.
this, because there was nowhere even to park, which was the problem. So nobody was going there. And the good thing was it was a longer keyword and it was much more specific. It was actually not too difficult to get him onto page one. He started getting 30 to 40 people more every day because of this keyword and because people were around Pacific Avenue and then looking for that. I mean, if you think about it, the average keyword, what I try for is a keyword where 20 to 40,000 people a month look for. That's a good quality keyword where there's enough people to drive traffic to your website. He didn't care about that. He wanted 10. And it worked
Mm-hmm.
for him. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it really depends on the keywords. The longer keywords sometimes work better now than the shorter keywords.
Mm.
And If you don't
And
mind
when
me
you
going
say
on,
longer, are you talking about like a sentence, like best restaurant in Pacific Avenue rather than, uh, you know, best steak?
it kind of, in fact,
Hmm.
almost exactly. Let me use the plumbing as an example. So
Hmm.
I tell plumber clients, you don't want to be page one for plumber. You just don't. Because in the US, let's say they're in Washington State, Florida is a 5-day drive away from Washington. They don't want people in Florida to call them.
Hmm.
It's too far. They don't even want to go more than an hour, especially with the gas prices the way they're going.
Yes.
You don't want to, driving an hour can cost you an extra $50 in these big trucks per truck. And so you want to stay as close to home as possible. So rather than saying, okay, plumber, you could say Washington plumber, California plumber,
Hmm.
Brisbane plumber. Or maybe there's like even sub areas of Brisbane where they have little smaller town names in the area. You could even get that. Or you could even say residential plumber in those areas or,
Mm.
or something like that. Fewer people look for it, but think about it. Somebody who's going to type residential plumber in Brisbane isn't somebody that's just goofing around on the internet and wondering what's up. They are looking for help right there and then.
Hmm.
It's a very targeted customer, which is why you want those very targeted keywords.
Yeah. So I think that the point that you're making here is that it's really thinking about what it is that you want, be a
Mhm.
level of specificity in what you're doing. So you're very specific about the words, and therefore, yeah, you might have fewer people looking, but the quality of that audience is going to be much better than if you were to be, a lot broader. And often, it's one of those things too that often people think, oh, if I get too specific, I'm going to be cutting out a whole lot of market. And often it actually works in the opposite, doesn't it? You get a much better quality of client or customer in a shorter period of time because it's very specific.
Mhm. And here's the secret that most people don't realize. Let's say you are a plumber and you say, okay, I'm going to do the keyword residential plumber, Brisbane, Australia. Long keyword, 4 big words. But you're not just limiting yourself to residential plumber, Brisbane, Australia. And
Hmm.
the Google and the search engines are going to see residential plumber. They're going to see plumber in Brisbane. They're going to see plumber in Australia. They're going to see plumber. They're going to see every part of it, and they're going to see the whole thing together. So you're
Mm.
working. I actually push local keywords because when you do local keywords, you're automatically doing the national and international keywords as well. So if you're selling like shoes, you could say, I want to sell Seattle Nike shoes, let's say. I'll pick on Seattle, Washington. Seattle Nike shoes. That picks up Seattle shoes and it picks up Nike shoes across the country. They don't differentiate between the two, so they'll do both.
Mm. And that's a really great tip for people to be thinking about. And when you're talking about sort of long, I've heard them called long tail keywords or long keywords with several words within that sentence. What's the norm? Like, what is a good number of words to have in a in a keyword such as that? Is it 4, 6?
I would say no more than 300, definitely.
Mm,
And
okay.
I'm joking completely. You wouldn't want to
300
keep
words.
it
I'm thinking, okay, right. So you were going to write a book. Yeah, I figured you were. So
but
we're.
really, okay. And here's the big difference. Like I said, keywords is one of the top 3 things to do. In fact, it's step one is figuring out the right keywords. Back
Mm.
in 1995, I could get a million, but I won't say a million. I'll say I proved this. So I could get 100,000 people to a website within a 30-day period of time just by putting in the right keywords on the back end of a website without anything showing on the front end because there was a way to on the back end to put in keywords and you could put in like some famous actress or actor in the back or something like that and people would go there looking for that, but it wouldn't help you because the web page isn't about that. And
Mm.
Google and the search engines have really tackled down on that. They don't even look at that back end keyword thing anymore, which I think is a great thing. What they do now is they actually look at the text that's on the page. So you got to use the keywords in the text on the page. They can't be the same color as the page on the bottom anymore. You can't do any of those tricks. In fact, they don't
Mhm.
like those tricks, and you can get in trouble for those tricks now in the search engines. But if you have a very well written web page that has those keywords written into the page, you're going to get higher in the search engines, and it makes it a lot easier for you to get onto page one. Not just for the longer keywords, but for the shorter keywords as well. Now, the reason why I say that is that means there is no number of keywords. It's all part of
Mm.
your content. It's all part of the text. See, if you want, like I said, residential plumber, Brisbane, Australia, you make a sentence. We are your residential plumber in Brisbane, Australia.
Mhm.
There's all the keywords and it's written well.
Mhm.
And so you don't really worry about the number of keywords or whether it's quote long tail or short tail. You make it part of great content writing. And by the way, content writing is number two of the three
Mm.
things. Doing very well written content. That is more important today than ever. In fact, Google in 2018 started changing things to look almost specifically at the content on a page, much more than almost anything else that's around there. They don't worry about the website name anymore. They don't worry about the back end keywords, the description. Description is there for the search engines a bit, but not as much. It's more about the actual content on the page.
Yeah, and that's really important to know because, you know, being someone who also helps people write, well, build their websites and also write their content, doing this kind of research becomes extremely important because it
Yeah.
will help you to determine what the heck what am I going to say on this page? How do I frame this in a way that not only looks good, reads well to the viewer, but
Mhm.
reads well for search engines, so that
Right.
you are actually getting the recognition and the rankings that you should be getting if you write if you write the text on page content well. So I
Yeah.
just want to jump back to this keyword because I know the next question people are going to have is, what tool can I use? What's the best tool for me to kind of do my keyword research with? Is there one that you would recommend?
I'll tell you what. I'll do two because there's Neil Patel does a website
Mm-hmm.
called ubersuggest.com. Amazing keyword research tool. It is so robust. There's so much information you can get from it. But now they limit you to doing three searches and then they cut you off. And then you have to pay for more. So if you're not the kind of person that wants to have to pay for the keywords, you can only do three. At that point, you can go to portbell.com, which is our website, and we
Yes.
have we have an SEO tools under our services area where we have a keyword research tool as well. It's a little more basic. It still ranks keywords and how popular they are. You don't get a lot of the extra stuff that Uber Suggest has, but it's still a great tool, and the entire thing is free.
Beautiful. Now, just I didn't quite catch the one for Neil Patel. Can you just
Oh,
give that to me again so I can make sure that everybody got that clearly?
yeah, it's Uber suggest.com.
There you go,
And
guys.
when it first came, it's kind of sad when it first came out. They allowed you to do everything, but then of course they want to make money, so they started slowly just chopping it up so you do less and less and less, and now you can only do three searches, and then you've got to pay for it. Unfortunately,
Oh yeah, it's the draw them in with something free, and then we'll do the bait and switch. We'll switch, and now it will be it's a paid platform. So all
yeah,
the rage of software. So
yeah.
coming back to this content side of things,
Mhm.
um, what recommendations do you have for people to help them create really good on-page SEO rich text?
Okay, this is a little secret that I'm going to give you. So it's just
Mhm.
between you and me and your audience. Okay, hire someone else to do
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it.
I'm glad you said that because it's funny, isn't it? It sounds like, oh, why should I do? It's so important. a lot of people, again, are focused on, I've got to make my site look pretty. It was really interesting. I had a guest on my show on Wednesday, and he was actually blind. And he's created his own website. And he was saying, when I first created, a guy got in contact with me and said, I think you need a little bit of help. Like, I'm looking at your website and like it's so in your face. The colors are all, like you've got multiple colors on there. The pictures are not resized. There's like all these issues with it. And he said, I was a bit, cut up at the time. He said, but the reality is it didn't stop me from doing any sales or making money. It wasn't about how it looked. It was what I had on the page. It was the words that I had on there that made the biggest difference. So, if a blind man can create something like what we're talking about today, utilize some of these strategies, then, we can. Anybody, this is possible.
Yeah.
So we're talking, keywords. And again, it all comes back to, I think, planning, researching, do all of that before you dive in to start building your first website. And even if you've got a website right now, what would your recommendation be? Yeah. What would your recommendation be for people to do right now? Like if I've got a website, think it can do better. I'm listening to Tracy and Ty. Maybe it is time for me to do something with this from an SEO standpoint. Where would you say they start?
The first thing really, let's go really back to the beginning, even before keyword research. Find out who your ideal target market is. And again, a lot of people push against this because they say, oh, I want to market to anybody. In fact, I used to go to networking meetings a lot more before the lockdown started, and hopefully they'll be coming back again. The networking meetings come back again soon. But there was a guy that joined one of our networking meeting once, and everybody gets a 60-second period of time to stand up and say what they do. A little elevator speech. And he stands up very proudly and he says, I sell beauty products, and so my target market is anybody with skin. And it was very cute. And it was kind of cool. But it really wasn't true because your average 5-year-old girl in Africa doesn't care about buying $150 skincare products. So you really want to pinpoint your target market. And it doesn't mean that you completely ignore everybody else. You just really target those people the most because you want to target the people. For instance, it's not on my whiteboard anymore. Look at my whiteboard behind me. For a while, I had it written down because it blew me away. So Nike spends about $3.75 million a year on marketing. Okay. They market to everybody. It's all over the place. Now, if you have $3.75 million a year to market, tell you what, I'm going to give you my phone number. Call me. But the fact is that is less than 6% of Nike's operating budget. So even though it's a big number, it's a very small percentage that they spend in marketing. Think about spending at the most 10 to 20% of your budget on marketing. It's going to limit your marketing a lot. So you want to make sure that you're marketing to the right people in the first place. Once you know your people, you're going to learn your keywords even better because you're going to know who you're marketing to. And it's the keywords for those people that you're going to want to know. And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm really pleased that you kind of back that up and spoke about, that the importance of understanding your audience, because again, like you say, a lot of people don't like doing this. They want to keep their audience very broad. I want to try and, capture as much of the market as we possibly can. But as you just, articulated, that when you understand the audience and you get to know them, you get to understand what their frustrations, their challenges, their desires, their wants, their needs, all of those things, then within that, you're uncovering some of the important words. And when you uncover those important words, because they're going to be the words that they're going to, type into Google, such as, skincare for my rosacea. So it'd be very specific to a person, in that case, if that skincare product was really good for, healing and, repairing somebody's skin that had rosacea, that's the sort of thing that they're going to be researching. And you don't get that information until such time as you spend some time understanding who the audience is and what the benefits and the outcome that you can provide to that audience is going to be. And then work your way down, down the line with your keywords. And then from that, as you say, you start to build a bit of a story, a storyboard that really does speak to that audience. So your content and your text on page becomes all about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a number 3. So we've talked about keywords. We've given, I love the fact that you've given a couple of different places we can go to. Of course, Port Bell, if you guys are listening right now, which is Ty's platform that you can utilize, I'd encourage you to do that. We've talked about audiences, keywords, content on page, recommending that, if you struggle in that area, you're not great with writing, you might be somebody that says, I'm not really good at that, hire somebody. Get somebody to give you a hand, because there are people out there that really do specialize in that. Number 3.
Number 3 is actually the one that almost everybody forgets about. Not when you're searching for something, but when you're thinking about marketing your company. Because think about it. Let's say you're going, I'm going to pick on Google specifically, although this is in most of the search engines. So you go to Google and you type in that you're looking for, let's say, an architect in your town. And of course, the top 3 things are the ads. So you scroll down and you start seeing oh, no, wait a minute. Let's wait before you start seeing the regular things. What's in between the ads and the regular things? It's that map. That map of local architects. That is number 3. And that's where your keywords and your content can help, because Google allows you to put keywords in there and allows you to put some content in there. You can even do blog posts in there. And if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't matter any major area of the world that you are in, you can utilize those Google Maps. And it's so hugely important. So much more important, I will say. I had a chiropractor friend that wasn't on Google Maps. When he got onto Google Maps, his business went up 10%. Now, just to add in a Google Map thing, it took me about an hour to do it. 1 hour of work for 10% more business. That's huge.
Worthwhile doing. So again, where do people start with, like, getting themselves on Google Maps? Where should they go to start that process?
You had to ask that question. Google has changed the name of their map program 8 times since it came into existence, and they just changed
Google
it
Places
again.
at one point, Google My Business. I don't know what do they call it these days?
Now, Google My Business will still take you there. I believe it's called Google Business now.
Yeah.
I think it's called, but Google My Business. If you just type Google My Business into Google, you'll find it. But yeah, in fact, I actually even did a video about how to do the Google Maps thing as one of my trainings. And I even told them right at the beginning, I said, they're going to change the name probably by the time this video comes out. but the inside part is the same. But I wish they'd just pick a name and stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been great, because what I try and do also on the Unlock Show, particularly on a Friday, is give people very practical steps, tools, resources. And I think today's session has absolutely been full of those, with just, 3 simple things that you can do to get yourself either started, if you're starting out, with utilizing, the power of SEO. And or if you've already got a website and maybe you haven't given it as much attention as you now are realizing, maybe I should have, the 3 steps that Ty has actually given you today are very, very practical, and are things that you can go away today and start doing. And I would encourage you guys to do that. Is there any, before we kind of wrap up today, is there any other things that you think are really important for an entrepreneur, a small business owner, to know about how to really position themselves well in 2022, and potentially even clearly beyond 2022, because the landscape, we've just demonstrated that continuously changes, with the things that are going on, particularly in the online world. They're constantly changing. What is your advice that you can give to other business owners, entrepreneurs, to keep up with the ever-changing environment?
And it is changing so much. In fact, today, education is the new way of selling. And this
Mm,
podcast is perfect. If you notice, this is a podcast and we're doing video. But I guarantee you, Tracy is doing video and she's going to turn it into audio. She's going to take that audio and she's going to do written stuff about it. You can boil the video all down to all sorts of different mediums, also different types of marketing. But it all starts with the video, and I think video is going to be get even bigger and bigger, even in this year. I'll say that even this year. I mean,
mhm.
right now, for a long time, YouTube has been the second largest search engine in the world. Well, right
Yeah.
now, YouTube is also the second largest website in the world. It's 100 times larger than the Google website. So, and it's not going to be long before I think YouTube is going to be the largest website in the world because they're doing, what is it, 120,000 videos a day? Is it?
It's massive.
Yeah,
I have got some. Yeah, it's massive.
I could actually be really low on that number too. I might be.
Mhm.
I might have been an hour, but yeah, it's amazing how many people are doing videos. We're going to be getting into a whole new era. COVID kind of pushed us into this, not just video, but virtual reality. Virtual reality is taking
Mm,
massive jumps. But think about it. At its base, what's virtual reality? It's video.
mhm.
And so it's just the next step in video. So as much as I say your website is your cornerstone, for marketing right now, this isn't a timeless thing. This is going to be changing a lot. But video to me is the one of the great things to be working on now to take your marketing to the next level and use the video to train people, to educate people. I talk about 70 to 80% of what I do on video all the time. And so the only reason I leave out the other 20 is because it's so technical you wouldn't want to know it anyway. That's the real techie stuff. It doesn't make people say, "Well, I'm just going to go do it myself." It makes people say, "Wow, this person knows what they're talking about. I want to hire them." So the people that will do it themselves, if you think about it, is probably not your ideal customer anyway. Your ideal customer is going to be somebody that listens to what you've said, likes that you're an authority on that. They're going to contact you. They're going to hire you.
You couldn't have said that better. And for those that have watched the Unlock show or listened via the podcast, you guys will know that what Ty's talking about is absolutely sort of reading from my playbook, so to speak, because I absolutely believe video is the way to go. One of the things that actually Vicky Helm, who's a very good friend and a business partner of mine, and I
Mhm.
created was actually a program called Influence and Authority Method. And it actually teaches people how to create their own live show so they too can utilize the power of video to educate people. Because if you think about it, video plus education, right,
Right.
increases your influence and your authority. And you use those words of people watching you saying, hey, he knows what the heck he's talking about. He knows what I need to do.
Mhm.
I think I want to talk to him, and potentially I'm going to hire him and or his agency to help me do the SEO side of things. So I firmly believe, like you do, that video is the way to go. And it's not just YouTube. YouTube, there is absolutely a massive opportunity
Mhm.
there for people to take advantage of video. But you're seeing that pop up everywhere. You don't have to look at the new platform. I'm going to say new because it's one of the newest kids on the block, but
Yeah.
TikTok, it's
Yeah.
all about video. So people want to see, and most are wanting to see the authenticity of somebody, not the, hey, I'm glammed up. Here's, what my life looks like when I've made millions of dollars. They want to see you in the flesh, in the now. What are you doing? How do you do that? What's the best way to, what advice have you got for me? What do you actually know?
Yeah.
And I tell you, video, I'm going to say sorts out the authentic from the fake, because you
Mhm.
can't,
Yeah.
like when you're doing this type, particularly live video, you just can't lie on it.
Yeah.
It's so authentic, right? So I love that you've spoken about all of those things. And the other great thing about, just leading on from that, if you think about someone's ability to speak, often the they find it easy to talk about their product
Mhm.
and or service or what it is that they do, and they might not necessarily put it in a pitch-worthy way, right? Like the guy who you were saying, hey, was at one of the networking events and said, I've got a skincare product and it's for anybody that's got skin. They might not necessarily put it in the right way, but I'm sure if you got him on a video and he started talking about his skincare product, that somewhere within the verbiage of what he said, the text would come out. There would be keywords within that that would then help you to take from what the guy has said and actually formulate some really good text content that would be worthy of putting on his website.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I love that. Well, look, I want to say thank you very much for all of the information you've given today. I think it's been a jam-packed, filled, session with some really good quality advice. And I want to encourage all of our listeners to do that. I also want to encourage you guys that are listening and watching today to head on over to Ty's website. So there's a couple of things that you'll find there. You can see Ty free books, so you can head on over to that website. There's a few things that he gives away on there. One of which is the SEO tool that he spoke about a little bit earlier. So go and check him out there. Also, if they want to connect with you more, Ty, where is the best place for our listeners and viewers to get more of Ty?
I'm definitely on all the social media sites, but if you really want to connect with me, I again go back to my cornerstone. Go to our website, portbell.com, and click on Contact Us. I'm on email all the time. I'm on social media maybe once a day. So I'll reply to an email much quicker than I'll reply to a social media post.
Yeah, let me just make sure that I've got this correct, Ty. Let me just pop that on the bottom too. So portbell, if I spelled that correctly, .com. So there you go, guys. You can see it scrolling across the bottom. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast right now, we'll make sure that those links are in today's show notes and description. But thank you very much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and being so generous. I've got questions for you too, because I know you got something fun coming up, right?
Right.
Ty was telling me before we go today
about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to give you an opportunity to. Ty was telling me a little bit earlier, you guys have heard throughout today's show the experience that he's had. And he was telling me with excitement that, very shortly we're coming up to 20 years in business. And that just goes to show how, how SEO has really stayed steadfast throughout that period of time. He's got some exciting stuff to share with us. What the heck are you doing for your 20th year, Ty?
We really wanted to do a big 20-year celebration. So we're talking about something live, but I know that there's still so much going on with COVID that we decided not to do that. But plus, since it's not going to be live, we can actually have a bunch more people be a part of it. We're doing prize giveaways almost every single day in April, starting in April 1st. All you have to do is join our Success Tips Club. So if you go to portbell.com, scroll down just a bit, and you'll see the Celebrating 20 Years and the link to click here. Just join the club, and throughout the, like I said, every single day, I'm going to be giving away not one, not two, probably 3 or 4 different prizes. Now, unfortunately, I'm not sure where your audience base is, but if you're outside of the United States, I wouldn't be able to send you any of the physical products, but we have digital products we're going to give away as well. So that doesn't mean you can't be a part of the celebration. We're going to do what we can for everybody, whether you're in the United States or not. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. We've got I actually have a training that I do that is, it's a do-it-yourself training, how to learn how to do the SEO stuff that you can. The 3 things I talked about, really: content, keywords, and even working with the Google Maps. It's normally a $500 training. I'm going to be giving several of those away, not just one, but probably 4 or 5 of those away throughout the month. And so there's some digital stuff I'll be giving away that anybody in the world can take advantage of if they win that.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on 20 years. We know that that's a huge achievement because not very many businesses last 5 years, let alone 20. So congratulations to you and your team. And, it takes a lot of determination and, sometimes tears, etc., to get to 20 years. So congratulations to you. And how exciting. Guys, if you want some of that stuff that Ty's giving away, I know it's going to be super valuable. Make sure that you head on over to portbell.com and that you scroll on down to that celebration tab and get yourself on that list so that you can get yourself into the running for some of those fantastic prizes. Well, thanks so much. I almost forgot. Thank you for reminding me. We talked about this at the beginning, and I almost forgot that we wanted to share that. So you guys make sure that you get yourself in on the celebrations with Ty and his team. All right, guys, we'll have a fantastic rest of the week. As you know, I always say these sessions are going to be worth nothing to you unless you take action. So everything we've spoken about today, pick it up. We're giving it to you. It's your gift from us. Take it, accept it, and actually take some action with it and make it happen. And go and live your life unlocked. Go and unlock all the secrets that Ty has given you today to start building a really solid base for your marketing future in 2022 and beyond. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be back again next Wednesday with another amazing guest on The Unlock Show, 10 a.m. Brisbane time. Until then, stay safe and have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.